It's a bit far away. Alt-W-G. Wow. Aren't shortcuts awesome? Hello and welcome back to Excel. Today we're going to be doing some filtering on Michael Scott's Toy Company data to discover why some customers are satisfied with our product and others aren't. Let's press Control Home. Let's go ahead and hide some of these columns. Give me just a second. Like I said, it would only take a second. So when Michael Scott first gave us this dataset, he said he had a suspicion that the customer satisfaction had something to do with the dates. So let's go ahead and find out what the date difference is between the order date and the delivery date. Some people did the expedited shipping, some did the standard shipping. Expedited in our case is 2 to 3 days. The standard is anywhere from 5 to 7 days. So let's find out what the date difference is. Let's say equals. Now there's a couple ways we can do that. We can use the days formula, which actually just tells us the difference between two dates, but actually that's a bit redundant. So since we already know how dates work in Excel, instead of doing the days formula, which we would do the end date, and we're taking the order date, enter, that would give us a whole column of what the date difference is between these two. But since we already know how dates work, we don't really need that formula. So in my opinion, it's a bit redundant because we could just do equals this date minus this date, because we know that each one of these are serial numbers. This is a slightly higher serial number than this one, because it's how many days between January 1st, 1900. So now we have the date difference. So let's do some analysis real quick. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more columns just to give us some space. There we go. All right. So now 2 days, 4 days. Let's do some filtering. Let's just look at the expedited shipping. So there should only be about 2 to 3 days. And it looks like, ooh, we got one with 4 days. So look at this one with 4 days. The customer satisfaction is bad, but all the other ones are good. So it looks like anyone with 4 days in the expedited shipping has a bad customer review. Let's see. Yep. Oh, now we have one with good. Now why is that? Oh, they have a discount. Look at that. So the customers that had a bad customer satisfaction, their items were late getting to them. But it looks like this person, since they had a discount, they went ahead and gave it a good customer satisfaction review, because I guess it balanced out. Now let's look at something else. The yeses, and sure enough, all the discounts for yes, they've all been given a good customer satisfaction review. So now we can tell Michael Scott it has everything to do with the dates. Now maybe in the future, anytime a customer has a package that arrives late, maybe Michael Scott should give them a discount to keep the customer satisfaction up. Okay, so I unhid the columns. Now let me show you a few things on the View tab. At the very beginning, I used a keyboard shortcut, which was Alt-W-G. It zooms into the selection. Wherever you have your selected cell, it's going to zoom in on that cell. I can press 100% zoom. You can use the keyboard shortcuts Alt, then W to go to the View tab. Then you can press any one of these keys to select what you want. So let's press Alt again. So I had one client that gave me a workbook with over 200 columns. Now a good idea in a case like that is to use the split feature. You click up here. So click at the top. If you're working along with me, click at the top somewhere, then click split. It splits the worksheet into 2 parts, so now I can scroll over here. So now if you're working with a lot of columns, you can be way over here referencing something. This equals 2 plus whatever's over here. So that saves you a lot of time. Because before I knew about this feature, I would be over here. It wasn't split. I would be all the way over here. I would type in something, then I'd go all the way back. So this will save you a lot of time in the long run. Now, if you're not at the top, if you're somewhere else, you can actually split it into 4 sections. And you can still work Now, for me, it gives me a bit of a headache because it can be hard to kind of keep up to where I'm at. But sometimes you might be in 3 or even 4 sections of your workbook, and you might want to handle it that way instead. Personally, I try to keep it to just 2 if I ever do it. Now, of course, you can also arrange your workbook. So if you want to open a new window, which we did in the past, so now I can press the window button, right key. I can click this one. So now it's the same window just like we did in the past, but now what we can do is we can arrange our workbooks. We can do it vertically, which like we're doing right now, or we can do it horizontally, which for me, it doesn't really work. There's not too much space to work with. Arrange all, we can do it tile if you have multiple worksheets. But that only works if you have another one. So now let's arrange this one. Tiled, yep. So now we have 3 of them. So if you have 3 of them, you can be referencing it like that. Personally, it's a bit much for me. Usually I stick with maybe 2. Let's do that. All right, now we're back to 1. Now some people like to use this freeze pane option. Personally, if I'm in a table, it doesn't make too much sense to use it. Because some people, they will select this first row, or they'll just be on this and they'll say, okay, freeze top row. They'll scroll down and you can see this top row, which is kind of helpful. You can do the filtering options and everything. But for me, it doesn't make too much sense because, watch what happens if I unfreeze this. If I scroll down, I can still see these headers if I'm in a table. Now, if you're not in a table, it's not going to work, which is why I recommend always making your data set into a table so you can do this filtering. And even if you're way down here, you can still filter it. You can still see what your headers are. You can still filter. Now, if you're outside your table, of course, these headers are going to disappear. They're back. They're gone. They're back. It's like magic. All right, Control Home. You can also switch windows. Of course, we only have one window open, but again, if we had a new window, we can press Control Tab to kind of switch through these. So we have Advanced Excel Course 2, 1, 2, 1. Control Tab will switch you from workbooks, or you could use this if you have 5 or 6 different workbooks open. You can use it that way instead. Go ahead and close one of these. So the last feature I want to show you is in the Formulas tab, and it is Trace Precedents. Let me show you what this does. All right, so if I click in this column, watch what happens when I go to the Formulas and I press Trace Precedents. It's showing me what cells this cell is referencing. It's saying, okay, this is a if formula, so it's taking in arguments from this column over here, and then it's referencing this discount price right here. Press remove arrows. Now watch what happens when I click over here, and I click Trace Precedents. It's saying there's not really anything to reference. There's no formula in here that's referencing anything else. It doesn't really work. But watch what happens when I do this. I'm going to zoom out some. I'm going to press Trace Dependents. Watch what happens. Wow. Isn't that cool? So it showed me that this entire column is dependent on this cell right here. Pretty cool, huh? Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you again in the next lesson.